well, sometimes
cards
play
on the
that.
table. There
There's
you go,
one of
LGL card.
them. Okay.
But what we saw actually then, as much as it was again kind of like a Predator kind of build back then too, is that you just get to run into lanes.
Yeah.
That point and click stun from your Q is so nasty. It's not necessarily about the Conqueror dueling potential it used to have. When
It's him. Quicksoft.
He's back.
Destroyer of worlds, devourer of breadcrumbs. That's the actual name of that duck. I named him the other week. Go check the NLC Twitter.
Is Quickseth / Michael / Dicky / whatever else has been called going to have by the end of the split, do you reckon?
He's just named Sothoch. Destroyer of worlds, devourer of breadcrums. That is the name of the duck. The squeaky noises are actually, that's actually the countdown timer to the end of Room Terror.
Right.
That's what it is.
Good to know. So Herald of the End Times alongside Tarek, we're going to have like an overload of actual like dark...
People think that the Herald is in the top river and it's a lie. It's like a screen for the duck in the bottom river. That's exactly it.
Like, we're going to have so many like shady figures in dark cloaks performing rituals around because everyone's trying to like follow one of these dark powers of ominous intentions.
Well, Torok's on one side, and then you got Sothoch on the other.
Yeah,
clearly.
there you go. I wonder if they ever have scheduling issues.
That's true.
Maybe we can investigate that at some point.
Okay, slight absurdity aside, let's talk a little bit about potential early invades here. As Kikis steps forward to get the early ward.
They get the early ward, and something that we didn't see in some of our earlier games today was trading of information. Getting a ward deep onto the Raptors is quite important because actually you get to see what direction the jungler comes to and from Raptors. So you can track their path very well at that point. Most of the time to get the quickest level 3, you go to like Red Raptors Gromp. However, if you want to kind of keep up in the farm and make sure your camps are coming up on the best cooldown that they can do, you go for the full red side clear into everything else at that point.
Cry's being obnoxious in level 1 here. GP can do this. Trial by fire is really nasty, and that 5-point strike missing is going to be a bit frustrating for Nile.
I mean, Cry's in the last week of play as well had like a really good Vladimir game. Of course, Eminez had one himself, but Cry's had one too. So, and you know what we were talking about in pre-show about actually, so we have this really high Gangplank presence. We have a really high Caitlyn presence. Kind of the Gangplank leads from the bot lane, immobile backline presence, and then the Vladimir came as a knock-on to that. I'm wondering if the Akali can do something similar, just try and hold them accountable. But right now in the early lane, Cry is taking the better of the trades, as you kind of expect. Akali at level 1 is not really a champion.
And Vanir have got themselves a comp that can team fight, but can also split push pretty well. Akali and Ryze in side lanes pushing and being safe is definitely a thing. Flashless Akali, by the way, that is fleet footwork and ignite. Whereas the other side, you're looking at a JDXL team that's got like full zone control between bombs and Jhin and Chaos Storm and Gravity Field, and then Volibear with a potential Stormbringer coming forwards, and Gangplank with the barrels and the cannon barrage. That's so much zone control in any given lane or river or wherever the hell you happen to be.
And actually another thing which is really big on terms of like the zone control thing is being able to give that huge move speed to a Jhin who can then effectively use the 4th shot as harass. You run up, we saw this at Worlds, get that move speed, just smack him, get the move speed from that crit, and you get to run away at that point. Jhin gets very uncontested damage at that point, unless Leona is on point. They have the cleanse, they can start baiting in the Leona at that point too. So,
I'm going to call it out as well, because of course, Georgia and yourself both mentioned maybe Dan goes towards the Predator on the Volibear, has decided to press the attack, is Nilea having to back out, but does land the Shuriken, maybe feels brave, decides against it, especially with the corrupting potion pop there.
The problem there is that, you tag that Shuriken and you think, oh, maybe you can take a good trade. Well, not with Trial by Fire active as well from Cry. Yes, just if you melee auto that barrel, of course, it sets it back on, sets it back up, and you can actually stack it as well. So at level 1, level 2, it's you can get a double stack of Trial by Fire, which is really high damage.
Brutal.
Yeah, and brutal, savage, wrecked by Gangplank as
he hits the barrel chain as well. That is just not nice. I wonder whether Nile feels the need to recall and does do exactly that. Does have the teleport.
How many barrels has Cry's hit now? Would you say 3? Would you say it's 3 Nile to Cry's?
No, I wouldn't, because I'm not that much of a degenerate.
Well, that's in trouble. Talk about that instead.
Flash Wind becomes lightning. The gravity field is good that it's under tower now. That's going to be so much damage, but just edges out of the tower range before he's frozen in place.
Okay, so goodbye Noodle to at least understand that he could take that step back.
That's a danger noodle right there.
That's a danger noodle. In the top side, but who is in danger here? Okay, Harley stops the back and is going in.
Thought about it, but again, decides not to continue harassing, just delays the back.
This is quite important now because, we were talking about the Gangplank before in terms of actually the teleport changes really helping Gangplank really doesn't help some laners in this situation, though, in terms of TP and how it affects top lane, where you can't teleport to a wave and then shove it out. You also can't do it on the other side, where actually if you go back, you can't teleport to a wave and hold it in that position. I know that Cadril made a video about that. I'd really suggest, for those wanting to educate yourselves on the topic and longer form content, that's a really good one to watch. In terms of like, actually, laning basics from top lane have been really changed. So Gangplank has to teleport back to the tower to push over in. Luckily does get control of that wave again, but it's a moment of kind of a query at that point where the wave control can get a lot more different to it was in previous seasons.
Okay, so as a reminder, of course, this is Samurai taking a lot of damage. Never mind reminders. I was going to bring us back to Volibear and his choice of Keystone, but never mind that, because Jhin just takes a solid, you know, half of his HP
Yeah,
bar
so
there.
there's the press attack on the Volibear, which is, so for those of you that don't know, like obviously your W counts as an auto attack reset. I can't remember if your Q does actually, but you get to very quickly get through that, particularly in the duration of your stun. You get a lot of extra damage on them, and Volibear's base damages are really high.
I think you can QW auto, if I remember correctly, because the Q empowers your next auto. Something like that, if I remember. Someone out there who's actually a Volibear main can tell me how it actually works.
I know that so I'm not a Volibear player myself because I'm an avid mid lane player who plays too much Ahri for his own good. But if you get the W onto target, so if you W the target once, gets the mark on it, W them again gives them a really big burst. So actually in extended trades, particularly when he's back in top lane, that W2 is a huge amount of burst. And someone like Ezreal, if you have to you know, flash E away from the Volibear, and if he still manages to get on top of you with his ult and his Q, you're going to take a lot of damage.
Oh, yeah. And I suppose the other thing is, if you've got a Zillion behind you, who needs Predator when you could just be sped up, actually?
That's a good point, actually. Maybe you don't need to double down enough onto the move speed and just go like, hey, extra damage. I love that.
And especially if you're then exposing the target via the press to attack, you know, active for whoever you've stunned in place. I see
like
that
a
combo.
Chaos Storm or
Indeed.
a Gangplank. Now, the thing is, though, like, obviously, we're going to spend a lot of time with the Volibear because we don't we don't see it that often. But imagine not just stunning into the Stormbringer as well, the E, the little lightning from the sky. Do that into a Gangplank ult. That sounds horrifying.
Sounds really not very nice, as Quixoth and Kevo might be coming to punish as Dan comes over the wall. We'll have a very easy Thundering Smash. The Deadly Flush not quite there to follow up. That is the Cannon Barrage burn, though. And will the side of Vanir be able to escape? That was critical for them. They needed to be able to stay alive in this early game against the top tier team. Dan flashed and couldn't quite get in range. And it does mean that Vanir escaped with their lives.
And again, Sahira's got topside.
He has.
He's already.
Oh, his Qs aren't lying right now, but he'll be able to get away. Sahira does manage to escape.
Managed to get some kind of response. Realm walks up to the top side, holds Gangplank accountable. Ignite not used from the Akali, but the ult was. Still no kills, even though a huge amount of resources used across the map. You know, we love visual reinforcement, saying, we're going to explain something to you. Here's how it happens in person. Well, here's how you visually reinforce how top laners die. One of them is going to, presumably.
He's done.
Noodle. He's just going to be onto him, surely.
The Danger Noodle turns up. That is easy to like. No! He puts the Ignite down, just cries, have the W. Can he get out of this? He's going to be so close. He gets out alive. What is the HP?
I think I caught 18. It might have ticked up one. Eminence doesn't have
well. No! Noodle! Not like this! She's going to try and get out with the 3 Talon Strike, but there's a death ray coming forward. The damage! Noodle! You get away with actual murder.
Well, he absolutely does, because Eminence has hit the ground, taking a bit of a dirt nap, and Noodle has put them there. Didn't quite find the lucky kill onto Cries, angled that W to try and flash predict just a little off, but now kick is round 3.
Roll up. The circus has turned up to the top lane, and we've all got tickets to view. Nearly avoiding that one. That's some nice trapeze work coming on, but I don't know whether the Ringmaster of Cries will allow him. No, surely not. He gets away. He gets to the bomb. Kickiss. The fadeaway, it's just not enough.
That's no mid lane Zillion. It's got a tear. It's maxing the slow. You know he's got him, but I can't believe. I can't believe that after all of that, it started with one of these top players is going to die.
What is this?
So, this is several plays into this, and I mean, this is just Jhin Zhao having huge early game burst. Chains everything into each other. The red buff in there too. Jhin Zhao does damage, baby.
It does. He gets to walk away as well. That's... if I was M&S, I would be quite upset.
I mean, I'm pretty sad for him. I'm just sat there like, wow, that seems like a done deal, but wow, burst damage really coming out huge there. M&S has gone for the area, of course, as well. Wanted that extra early game pressure in the laning phase, but hasn't managed to find too much on Sahir. And, you know, for me, M&S has been the best player in the NLC so far. I know that some people, i.e. Viper, would very much strongly argue for Tempt. But I think M&S has had a stellar couple of weeks of the NLC so far, but I mean, right now, Sahira, he's really running the map, gets that first play top side, and M&S has struggled to have the same kind of impact.
Has indeed, and this is good news for Vanir fans, because this is a team that has gone through some of the easier opponents in the league so far, at least on paper, at least in these early weeks, and they're 3-1. But they've yet to play some of these really top-tier teams, and JDXL is the first of that gauntlet they're going to have to run over the next week, 2 weeks. And yes, both teams are 3-1, but JDXL's one loss is 2x7. You know, that team that we were saying is just unmatched, you know, the last game notwithstanding. But Vanir, you know, they need to prove that they are worthy of the game score they're having. They want to prove that they are able to fight with the top of the table.
And this is, you know, so Herald's being started up by Vanir, very important objective. If they can get it, both bot lanes are on the top side. Of course, Dan is gone down here. Nille has an E and an ult, presumably gets out of this. And Dan takes a bite and leaves. So, you know, I'll put my own hand up and say, I probably didn't think Vanir was as strong as their record suggested because of their strength of schedule.
I'm there with you. I was there with you.
Early game so far, you know, muting a lot of what JDXL have tried, got a kill of their own. They do have the Kenting Akali, which is notorious right now. Of course, it'll only be here for this week. 1 week more, and then no more. We'll be shifting over on the pro patch to 12.2 after that point. And Nille has a real chance to take over this game if he does get into the backline. And I'm really interested to see if Vanir can make this work because, you know, as we said in the pregame as well, Vanir have the early game. Then mid-game is where things fall apart. Let's see if they can prop it up just a little bit.
Outside of an opportunistic deadly flourish from Zamalek, there was no real contest there onto the Rift Heralds. That was secured by Noodle. And actually, honestly, this Volibear thus far, outside of a near thing in the bot lane, hasn't really managed to get that much done yet.
I have to say,
and that's a little bit nerve-wracking. Has got the ultimate available, so maybe some tower dives are the option.
No, and like I was saying, you know, Volibear is a champion which I'm used to running into lanes and just making it hellish to survive as a solo laner, particularly. You run in, you stun, and that very early base damage from press the attack makes it very hard to play out those kind of fights. But hasn't been able to gank the Akali very well. I know we talked about actually Diana really struggling to gank stuff like Gwen and Vladimir in previous games. Well, this is the other side of that, actually, in terms of like, for JDXL anyway, who put that upon Bifrost. But Volibear is really struggling to gank the Akali, and as much as Nille lost out on a couple of trades, has done very well at keeping himself alive.
Has done, and here again, a little bit of an obnoxious level 1, lost a bit of CS, had to been ganked a few times, as you said, and but the same thing as you were kind of mentioning, like, it is kind of critical when you're going towards some scaling picks here, especially versus like arguable lane shove. I mean, obviously, Victor Rise is a little bit of a mix.
I was wondering if that blast cover would go somewhere a bit more interesting.
Yeah, I was wondering that one as well, actually.
Secret agent, it's Bravo Kickers going dark.
Yes, exactly. Exactly, but it's not that. And instead, we've got an early game that has at least kept the gold slightly Vanir favored. They've got themselves these big carries doing pretty well thus far and have avoided Bravo Kickers.
All I can think of is, Colonel, I'm trying to get past the blast. I'm trying to get past the vision code. But the tick from my clock is too loud. And it keeps alerting Noodle. Well, anyway, that goes
Who
into
needs to hide in
mid
a
lane.
cardboard box when you can hide with a giant clock on your back? And maybe the time is now for a decent use of the Rift Herald. Mid gets a couple more plates. That's that mid lane tower down to just shy of 2 plates. We got ourselves a Drake number 2 on the table and spawned. Dan about to secure that Scuttle Crab. And now to see whether either team really wants to play for this.
Okay, so you don't necessarily have the item spikes to be fighting around. Akali is down a CS, whereas on the other side, Cry is very happy to sit up top lane without that teleport compared to the Akali and just dump an ult on someone. Dan's still ready to fight as well, has that ultimate. First rank of ultimate is very strong, but what you're really looking for now as JDXL is an ability to find a way, again, to not just fall off with this Volibear. When you get your second rank of ult, you actually get a huge damage increase. He is close to it, of course, level 9. He'll be getting that before the next dragon, probably, but he has to find a way with only his first level ult to find a way to fight.
Secured the dragon. That is Drake number 2 is going to be sped up and does manage to extricate themselves from danger with the use of that Thundering Smash. But now M&S going to get flashed on. That'll be the flash. Room Prism for the slow. But nothing more to be found there. Flash to flash from both mid lanes.
It's pretty tight timing because you see actually the mark lands on him from the E, but the W doesn't actually activate it. Nille now up here on the top side, of course, has the Barmies for the extra kind of burn damage and base damage from Qs, but Cry's still kind of taking control of that lane when he wants.
Do you want to call out as well? That is a Trinity Force gangplank, which of course used to be the staple. Isn't so much anymore as Noodle has to get out of that attempted red invade and gets out of danger, but Trinity Force gangplank.
It's a little bit more staying power than something like the Muramana into Essence Reaver, where you go for like the no mythic for a couple of items, but what it does do is give you the ability to kind of like at least have a slightly more extended fight against the Akali and hopefully not lose hopelessly.
Indeed. All right. Chemtech. Not Chemtech, Chemtank. There we go. No Chemtech Soul quite yet. Indeed, it's a Cloud Soul, so none of that. It is indeed the Turbo Chemtank in for the Akali. That's all locked in. Crown for Victor, Gale Force for Jim. Those first items started to complete. Like, see that. Gore Drink, and of course, the Trinity Force over for Ezreal as well. Interesting.
And one thing I'll say is that this is kind of like a really micro mechanic, which actually turns out really importantly for people like the Victor, is that when you're normally against Akali, you expect Akali to go towards Proto Belt. Now, Proto Belt effectively invalidates Crown because you just pop that Proto Belt, and the Crown's just off cooldown. You don't really care for the Proto Belt for damage. It's nice for some of the utility. Might not be enough to save it from this.
Yeah, the realms start warping in, and M&S is about to be a very dead Victor. No chance of surviving that one.
They didn't need a Proto Belt for that one, it seems, as M&S has really struggled to find a stable place in this game. Had the one play top, turned around, goes into bot side, doesn't have the necessary vision. Vanir punished very well, and JDXL now facing down 1,000 gold deficit, 16 minutes, not the largest one in the world. But M&S not being on the board when he has been for so many of their games is difficult to deal with for them.
Zamalek returning the favor for early on in the game where there was a lot of HP traded, but remember, this Ryze now free to attack this bot lane tier 1, but that'll be the curtains called, and JDXL have done waiting around. Where is the cannon barrage? There it goes. Now Quickset needs to get out of danger, but that takes so much damage. It's a Chrono Shift burn as well.
Oh gosh.
So many others, just not enough damage.
And this is a really awkward point now because Volibear has struggled to get anything done. Doesn't actually have their mythic already. Volibear's farming speed slows down too the later into the game goes because you don't have anything like a Gore Drink or even to help out with AoE camps outside of your Stormbringer and stuff like that. Now Nile looking to find something in the top side. Has Ignite, has ult. I'm not sure he's got enough of a runway to deal with Cries close to his tower.
Not quite yet, and instead we'll see an aborted attempt there in the mid lane to try and get a hold of that bot lane tour from Vanir.
We'll get them next time.
No, maybe. I'm not sure they will, though, is the problem right now. They are
failed.
shy.
We
so
won't
much
get
damage.
them next time.
Maybe. Instead, Noodle will once again get a Herald for free. Okay. No contest at all this time. Not even that token Deadly Flourish. And Cries is sitting around in this bush, waiting to see whether he can get a good barrel chain. And Quick says Noodle instead will come in towards his mid lane.
There's no
that
Zillion
Solar Flare.
ults.
There's no Chrono Shift, and Kikis has to flash out the exhaust down as well.
Oh, 2 summoners for one opportunistic pick. That's actually going to open up an angle into this mid lane. One Herald Charge will do it. They do have, of course, the Jhin there ready to play a little bit of wave clear duty, but it's not nearly enough against the 3 arrayed members of Vanir. And Vanir, it seems like, 17 minutes. Sam, to me, that sounds like a mid game. It seems like a mid lane which Vanir are feeling quite comfortable with.
Well. What did we say in that pre-show?
The V-shapes become a line.
Exactly, that dip in the middle. It seems to be leveling up pretty well here. And JDXL, on the other hand, looking a little bit lost here, not really managing to get much done on the map. Sahira, though, might be in a spot of bother because he is Ryze. Has got some ways, but that's a Stormbringer. He's going to get stunned and
there we go.
In place. That'll be the kill, and the teleport's coming through as well. You've unleashed it, but for what? Going to try and get out, though, with the Shuriken Flip, and Nile does manage to escape.
Yeah, you've channeled that teleport for a bit of an unceremonious exit, but Sahira caught out in the side lane. Now we see Jhin just about missing that W because Zamalek has been so on point in so many of their games for JDXL. Of course, we saw that huge Varus play around that one of those Dragon Fights
Unreal
last week.
play, yeah.
Unreal levels of performance from Zamalek. Might have to have it again.
Not
but
again.
Kikis has an ult this time, but doesn't have to use it just
the
yet.
Zillion. It's going to be out for now. He's away, but no, he's got a Chrono Shift. He's going to have that gravity field put down on top of Quickset. He's on top of M&S, who's trying to escape best they can, but Zamalek's got the root. Noodle is still chasing Kikis on the far side, but Cries secures the kill in the river. Kikis finally falls down to another audacious charge. I can't believe it took that long.
And it's ended up in a 1-for-1. I mean, credit to Kikis, like, milking it, really. Just getting as much as he could outside and out of Noodle. Gets that ult, gets the flash, gets so much. It does end up in that 1-for-1. Vanir do take the dragon on the back of it. JDXL would have loved to be sitting on a soul point at this point. Going right back to, of course, the side lane play with Sahira, who, we'd praised so far for getting active on the map. Doesn't manage to get away from that because Volibear doesn't really care about your CC when he channels the ultimate, does become unstoppable, and just goes down way too quickly for the Akali to impact anything. Of course, Akali doesn't have the second item of that Demonic Embrace to really start coming online with this build too. And that leaves them a little bit overextended now, though, JDXL, after taking that initial play to deal with Vanir in the bot side runner.
That was, and you can sort of see here, there's a resurrection, and then comes on the extended chase one more time. All the while, of course, Quixith is left out to die to the rest of JDXL, and Noodle finally managed to secure the kill after a very Benny Hill-esque chase.
I was going to say, it's just like, I've hit 3 Ws. That's great. Managed to get so much extra engage range from that.
But they did secure the dragon afterwards as well. It was also for a 1-for-1, well, 2-for-1, because of course Sahira died as well, taking that tier 1. But they get that. They get to use the Herald topside. They managed to get another one of these towers. That will be 2 towers down in their favor. Gonna start trying to get as much out of this Herald as they can. Maybe, should realistically be able to get a second charge, one would think. But we'll see whether they feel confident enough to escort it into tower.
I don't think they are, because again, Volibear ult's back up.
Yeah.
You do have the Jhin ultimate ready to kind of engage him in a very long range way if Jhin decides to move up from mid to top lane. I think they decided, okay, let's not do one of our mid-game fumbles again. Let's play it safe because we have that lead. And now we get to that point, we're saying, okay, Vanir, comfortable right now, getting through to some items. Now, there is, of course, the argument of quote-unquote scaling in terms of whose comp is easier to execute in that late game. You do have a Gangplank, you have a Victor, you have a range advantage from the side of from JDXL. Range advantages are quite an organic way to play out late game. Like, look, if I hit a death ray, I probably win this fight. Whereas with Vanir, they have to play a bit more tricky, have to play around something like this. As Sahira gets some damage onto Kryze, but again, the Ryze isn't really online yet either.
I kind of do want to pick your brains about the Ryze as well, because it's a pick that's been
trying to avoid all the random
popular for a
tangents
long time across pro play. How many worlds have we seen Ryze at, for example? High priority.
Many.
Absolutely. There's a whole statistic around Ryze's ridiculous presence at Worlds. That's not really what I wanted to talk about, and I'm hoping we're not going to see a fight here, because surely, guys, we've got 2 minutes 30 until the Dragon, so give me a chance to set up this argument. I think we're okay. I think we're good. Specifically, though, what do you think about Sahira picking the Ryze in this meta with this team, considering it's been struggling to find success around the world as it stands?
So I do think that the Ryze is okay as kind of like a blind pick, right? Because there aren't many things which upset Ryze too much in terms of the actual laning phase of things. Maybe something like a Syndra when Syndra's really strong, or an Orianna, actually, particularly if your name is Muto as well, can do well at kind of holding this Ryze down. The real problem for me here is that outside of good realm warps, you are going to struggle to get to the backline. That's not necessarily a death blow, though, because if you're going to do tricky plays, Ryze is a great champion for that. The 2-man Baron is spotted out by JDXL, so Vanir, that's one of those cards out the box of tricks now been used.
Noodle head straight back to the back of that Baron pit and remove that pink ward that spotted them. Going to get away with clearing that one out. No further issues required. And JDXL scaling fine, only down 1,000 gold, but what they are losing is map control. They have no towers as it stands, and that does mean that as this game gets later and Ryze gets another item or so, then that Baron continues to be an issue, and setup for things like the Dragons becomes more and more problematic.
Yeah, and yeah, no, you're absolutely right with that, particularly with the bot lane outer turret being taken by Vanir, which means that you have another way to kind of, again, maybe push in that wave, have a crafty Realm Warp come in. And while Jhin with the Victor backed up by the Zillion are very happy to play front to back, once Ryze starts changing these fights, it's more of an omnidirectional affair, they can kind of struggle to keep themselves in a safe position whilst also putting out damage enough.
So, with a minute or so until Dragon number 4 as well, there we go, correct myself there quickly. Ezreal has just got the Muramana transformation. That is a big deal, as Dan was looking for something in mid lane, but won't be able to get close enough to Cavo to make that a real threat. But it's 2 items in for Jhin, 2 in for Victor. You can start to see there's some important completions here. Akali now at very dangerous points because the Demonic Embrace is complete.
Yes. There you go. So you've got your HP into AP combination coming through there, which means that Akali is now suddenly going to be killing people if you get them into this team fight, while also having enough HP to really have, again, that staying power, what I'm using at least for this one, where particularly between your Shroud and that extra HP, you become really difficult to deal with. Now, a very good Volibear Flash Q could just still delete you at that point, particularly if it's into a grab field. There is a lot of CC at that point, which means that Nile doesn't necessarily have a green light to go ahead at all times, but they definitely have a lot of options with the 2-item combo.
M&S finally secures a tower for JDXL in that top side, and they've all rotated up towards this top side, leaving Noodle to take the Dragon. But Quixis is going to get caught out. That's a lot of chain CC, and he's going to be surely going down, but not before the heal comes out. And he manages to get out to safety with a flash and a little assistant from his AD carrier. Now Nile is here, and maybe could think about coming into the back end of this fight, but instead, JDX will have to back out again. You can see the CC chain. I just need to see more damage.
But you can see kind of like the lack of options as a team comp right now. What they really want is Vanir to just run straight down again, if we're going to talk about the last game. Charge the Light Brigade. Just want to run straight at you, into barrels, into gravity fields, Chaos Storms, you name it at that point. But JDXL, when they've been trying to go for these picks, doing it into a Leona is not easy. Doing it into an Ezreal even is actually not that easy either. Vanir aren't showing them the openings, and much like something that we've been saying about actually Astralis from week 1, actually, is that it just seems like both teams are very disciplined and not necessarily giving these openings both team comps would need to get that first pick.
Oh, well, now might be the option. Because, of course, burned their flash already. Down comes the cannon barrage, and maybe the turnaround will be enough. Kickers getting turned around. We saw how that went the last time. No flashes away from Noodle. And now the support to dead, make that 2 dead. As Dan gets on top of Ezreal. Now Kevo down. Noodle and the rest of Vanir need to try and find a way to stop this one happening. Maybe the V is coming just a little later into the day. Sahira's just not around. Nile managed to get a resurrection up. That's it! Until he managed to get across with the perfect execution and bring down the Chronomancer. That is a 1 for 3 in favor of JDXL. They'll turn to the Baron, and maybe I spoke too soon about the lack of damage.
Yeah, and they certainly did. Maybe we spoke too soon about that discipline as well. Now, there is no Akali ult. None of that execute damage coming through. It has to be a Sahira one-man show, and he takes a barrel to the face.
He does indeed. Remember, there's a collector in the inventory of Cries as well. That gets a little bit lower, and he's down. He can't stay to do any more damage. And JDXL, it's been a patient game. It's been a slow game. It's been a game of near misses on the catches. But this time it lands. This time it's a Baron.
Yeah, and now blood's in the water, you know. That's the opening which they need. They can start shoving into these quite low range solo laners, and this is how it starts. Squareface to call out for the second time in as many minutes, actually. And yes, Leona is hard to pick, but then Vanir decided, actually, we want to fight this. We have Ezreal in an okay position, but, well, Dan has a flash, very quickly dispatches Kevo, and Vanir lose all of the damage very early into the fight.
And Noodle realizes nowhere to run, so he goes straight back in and gets shut down there, unfortunately. And then this is a nice little bit of something from Nile there, who manages to find
it's a consolation prize.
The perfect execution to the 5-point strike. But that's right, it is only a consolation, unfortunately.
And the thing is, though, like in another game, you know, Noodle could have completely destroyed that fight as that Xin Zhao, as he had done in several other fights before. Just doesn't have quite enough there. Doesn't have the ability to shut down M&S, M&S has built a totally normal notebook.
The one you've got. Has he got Torok written it loads as well?
I'm sure he does.
He's got maybe got it written 6 times. He's got
okay,
6
we'll
pages.
see how many Toroks can be written in the totally normal from M&S, who started this game as 0-2, managing to find their way quietly back into relevance, not as loud as they normally are. This player has been, again, such a star within our region so far. But JDXL, speaking of M&S, have grouped up in the mid lane with that mid laner in tow.
M&S been writing some notes on Vanir. Maybe he'll be punished here, though. He's just pulled the notebook. He's about to have the pages turn up, but not before a chrono shift comes down. He'll stay alive, and Sahira will realm warp the team back out. But where did that final shot come from? Cannon Barrage secures it with a collector.
Oh, great. Whoa, I mean, I was just like, wait, did Crisis get a solo kill somewhere else?
Oh my god.
Zavila looking to take place.
Here we go again. That'll be the Stormbringer. He gets the kill onto Sahira, who's put straight down into the dirt. No more hit singles for the erstwhile songster. Gonna try and get out of this one and try and escape is Kevo, but he's got a barrel behind him. No. Cries is here from nowhere, and it's M&S that secures another kill there. He's writing a few more notes, and Zillion is killed by the mid lane tier 2.
Oh, triple kill for M&S, writing so many notes in that one notebook. Goes to reset.
20.
And, I mean, I don't know if we can have like this whole value of a Baron power play, but that gold advantage has gone up through the roof for JDXL. It's just exploded, and you know that's why I was really confused about that play in the middle. I was like, wow. That wasn't a shot in that mid lane, was it? It's just Cries finding Nile out of position, trying to roam up towards that play, and Cries opportunistic kill.
That's without an ultimate. He just like cues and barrels them.
Waxham gets the collector, gets a couple of lucky crits on top of that too. Teleport back in from Victor to get the Chaos Storm in there, and this is one of the big bonuses of Volleyball, which we finally start to see coming through a bit more. That go button is almost always going to find a target. Whether it's the right target, whether you live doing it, is a different question. In this case, does turn out to be one of those better decisions. JDXL run away with the lead.
And Kevo tries to get a hold of Kickers and nearly does, and then, of course, I believe just goes down there to a minion auto. Wasn't a tower. That's a bit disappointing. I'm sure Kikis will be kicking himself for that one. But, you know, that's 4 items now in the Victor's inventory. For those who haven't worked it out, by the way, that's Medjai's. That's the totally normal notebook. Just to clarify. It's
totally normal notebook.
It's a totally normal notebook with a lot of pages in. That's an Infinity Edge in, alongside Lord Dominic's regards
you got
for
the
Cries
60%
right now.
crit, even though you don't have crit from the mythic item. Cries is out very much online. This battle station is very much operational.
He is indeed. 2 items on this volley bear. He's very happy to be continuing to do what he's doing. It's nearly an Infinity Edge in for the side of Zamalek as well. I think he's literally a completion cost away. Still waiting on a number of those 3rd items really for Vanir. Kelvo just completed, as I talked about it, that Cyrilda's grudge. So if he can stay safe, could potentially still be a threat. But we saw how this went last time in the side lane, and Nile kind of got a bit monstered by this GP.
Oh, it's not going to get any better either at this point. There's the ultimate available. It's the 3rd rank. Base damage Gangplank goal is absurd. But while that is happening, M&S takes a trip up towards the top side, waiting for Cries to potentially teleport back onto the map wherever that may be. So we have Soul Point for JDXL. It's a Cloud Soul. It's not going to be game ending, but it's a reason to fight, and JDXL just need one reason at this point. They're probably not going to be pulling the trigger too hard. Again, a lot of this game has been about very slow build-up, waiting for a mistake, and Quixer did sadly kind of show that inch which JDXL used to take the entire arm off of Vanir. Quixer's one again out.
Oh boy,
This is the Jin Zillion combo. Runner up and poke.
The Fast is online. He's here to show you exactly whether you like his goal or not. Good lord! That is probably illegal in about 7 countries. Jin just explodes.
Yeah, it's going to be illegal in all of the NLC member nations at this point after seeing that. But on the other side, Cries is caught out.
Indeed. I was about to say, I just saw a little pop-up there saying GP had died, and after we just said, I'm not sure whether you want to fight this, GP, somehow, someway, Noodle continues to be a danger.
Oh, Quixer.
No,
Zed's blade not helping.
A lot of damage. The Deadly Flush not quite there, but the curtains are called, and I think this might be this act over. We have 5 games in a day. Act 3 looking like it's about to come through. Mistimes the resurrection, though. It's not enough as Noodle is put into the dirt. Jin allows someone else to take the bounce.
And they've made it look like another day at the office of JDXL. They actually haven't put too much of their own weaknesses on the line. They've just waited for Vanir to play into their hands. They've been patient, they've been disciplined, and it looks like they're going to be 4-1.
There are objective bounties up on the table, then that does get collected in that bot lane tier 2. They get the inhibitor to JDXL, but if Vanir can stall, they have still got scaling, they have still got options. It's just looking more and more unlikely. They're down 7,000 gold.
They are, and they're also, I mean, what isn't shown in the gold is that it's a fully stacked, totally normal notebook, also known as Medjai Soul Stealer, as M&S has filled all of those pages. Cries, getting
go
ulted by
again.
Nile.
He won the last time. He might not win this time. The Ignite has come down, but there's the Deadly Flourish. It's missed. The perfect execution. Look, wonderful. There's a Chrono Shift. That might keep him alive, but he's got to be so afraid. The Shuriken comes out, but he's going to flip his way out of this game. He took the call. It didn't work out.
Oh, so close. And after Nile had finally found something onto the gangplank, they finally got Cries down.
Here we go again.
We do have a Baron Stone on the other side, trying to avenge the Akali coming down, and Cries has teleported behind enemy lines.
He's got himself a cannon barrage. So much damage from the barrels, good lord. My voice went about as high as those damage numbers. Noodles is going to get exhausted, but that's actually 2 for none, or 2 for 2 right now. As of course, Noodle managed to secure something. M&S going to get a hold of the jungler as well. Quixip now in a trade with Zamalek, and oh my days, this Jin is starting to do some damage. That'll be a killing spree. That'll be a double. And yes, you managed to kill the volley bear and the GP. But what on earth did it cost you?
It's probably cost you the game at this point. Long death timers, base broken into, lots of AP and damage to towers in the remaining members. JD, XL, they team fight, they scrapped, they claw their way to a victory through a Vanir that probably showed a couple too many errors in that early to mid game once again.
The V, that dip at the end of it all might have been a bit late. Maybe Nile here can try and hold the game. He's going to try and get the hold of the way. He's doing a lot of damage with his chem tag. He does a lot. He gets the resurrect. Okay, maybe we'll have to hold on for a second. He's got to do enough work. There's the stopwatch. I just don't think it's going to be enough. There's the curtains calling, and that is rather appropriate considering the state of the game. Sahira is here. It's time for challenger number 2. Doesn't have flash, does not have realm walk, does have the teleport, and JDXL are not able to finish.
Not quite, but they do take... Oh, what's happening with that Ezreal? Is it going closer? It tags onto Zamalek, but does not kill the Jin.
Right. So, the game is alive, but the Nexus is exposed. We have a replay, and Cry's teleports in very deep.
I know he's playing the Special Forces gangplank, but this is not a reason to go that deep behind enemy lines, nor are you playing Quinn with an ultimate with the same name. Eminence does clear up some extra damage of this, though. Gravity Field keeps Noodle pinned in place, and Eminence has so much damage with that Medra is fully stacked. He's able to just brawl it out. It's not like he's tanking up any of the big damage dealers from Vanir, and Keva runs into a Jhin and regrets that decision.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. Special Forces gangplank might have been on a bit of a suicide mission there, but he did manage to lay the charges, because good lord, that barrel damage was obscene.
I didn't know this was Mass Effect 2.
It's not. It's League of Legends, Alex. Like, look at your screen. This is clearly not Mass Effect.
I've learned not to trust my first judgment on many things, but that's okay.
That's not even your first. It's got to be like your 600th or something. We've got a lot of games together at this point, mate.
But only a few in the NLC, which I'm
true.
looking forward to increasing. As JDXL looking to increase the amount of wins that they have in this tournament as well, especially in this split. Starting on that Baron, and it is getting shredded.
All right, so Cloud Soul was secured, Baron is secured 35 minutes into the game. This should surely, with 2 inhibitors and no Nexus towers, be a fairly easy march to victory, but Vanir are still alive. Yeah. They've got 5 members, and they have a prayer. Then they will be hoping to the heavens above that they can find some way to stall this.
That's actually pretty important. They managed to pop the crown. M&S is actually now a burstable target. Might buy themselves a Zillion ult for free. Noodle caught on the side.
He does manage to get a knock with the Dan. He's staying alive. That's a lot of healing back. He flashes in for the Classic Guard. Dan going away with the Stormbringer. Nearly goes back, but the curtains are calling for vast quantities of damage. Another shot comes through, and now he's going to go forward with the Gale Force, and the winds are blowing in JDXL's favor. He'll throw down a few more deadly flourishes, I'm sure, but with the Nexus exposed, with 3 members dead, it was slow. It was a bit scrappy, but JDXL get a vice grip and